we get started at all, or should I start from the beginning?
Meeting, although we are barely,
Or not a quorum?
four is not a quorum.
Oh, yes, four is. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're four. Okay, we're the four it's.
There's four we
Well,
missed.
at the last meeting, we talked about renewing our reading of our introduction, which I will do. I assume that no one else has a copy in front of them so they can read. But if so, and you want to, let me know.
Did we acknowledge?
What do you mean? Yes, the we acknowledge.
Got it right there because it's on the agenda.
Great. Do you want to read it or should I?
Read it. We acknowledge that Barre City was developed on Sokoke Abenaki land, which the Western Abenaki nation never ceded, made treaty for, nor were they conquered. We aspire to create a space in our meeting that is inclusive, participatory, and equitable. We acknowledge we all come from different experiences, that our experiences may be affected by racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, ableism, and many other systems of oppression. We are here to address equity within the systems of our city in order to inform the City Council of our findings. We acknowledge that systemic inequities exist and do not debate the personal experiences of marginalized and underrepresented community members. With that in mind, it is important that we are thoughtful of the impact of our words on each other in this space.
Thank you, Ellen. So are there any adjustments to, well, I do have a bit of an adjustment. I noticed that I forgot to put on here the finalize, a vote from us to finalize the report that we're going to bring to council. This is the report that we went over last meeting. So I'm going to add that to old business. Any other changes? Yeah.
I noticed that I don't think the copies of the July and August minutes were not, draft minutes were not available.
We
The
already,
June minutes were.
I know, but we already, I don't know why it's not on there. I'm assuming it got missed for some reason. So I will, I noticed that this evening. It's a little too late to put them out there, but I will do that tomorrow. I'll make sure that they're on there by tomorrow.
And I noticed on the June draft minutes, which is not on the agenda, I don't know if we want to put it on the agenda, that it did not list you, Joellen, or me, or Emily as being members present.
Well,
So,
all right. So I don't know how to retrieve that from the website, but I'll figure it out with Chris.
okay.
And well, maybe I can just redo it and have them. All right. And who were missing? You, me.
I was missing, you were missing, and I believe Emily was there. I
She
just went to view the video just to make sure.
was she on the video? Because I don't think she was there.
Oh,
Otherwise,
maybe she wasn't.
no, she would have done the minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Chris
That's-
and all
Only
right.
you can make it
That's right.
tonight. Is there any point in my texting her and see if she's coming?
Um,
If she can't.
Okay.
yeah, why not? I mean, you could try.
Who else is missing of our numbers?
But now that I have Chris's number, I can get the video on by tomorrow, so I can do it by video because this is going to be a short meeting. We don't really have that much to
Okay.
discuss, and we have few enough people to discuss it with. Thanks, Ellen. Okay, so we have, along with the report that we went over that priorities list the meeting before that. So what I want to do is submit both of those to the council, and we're on the council for the September 24th meeting. So it would be September 24th. I think it's 7. Is it 7? Well, anyway, we're not going to be on right away at first anyway. And I will send you the agenda for that meeting so you know when we're scheduled to actually be on. You don't have to be there necessarily. It's comforting when you show up. So that would be nice, but I'll give the report unless someone else would like to do that. I'm happy to abdicate. Seeing no hands, I suppose I will do that. Okay. So new business. So one of the things I talked about last time, well, I had a meeting with Nicholas And it was supposed to be a meeting with Nicholas and Rick and myself. And as you know, Rick has taken a job somewhere else. I do not have any more information than that, just that it was a very fast thing. I'm disappointed we hadn't an opportunity to thank him and to kind of, have some sort of send off of some type. So I'm trying to get a hold of him. He hasn't responded yet, but I'm trying to get a hold of him to see if he would either come in the beginning of our next meeting at the Zoom, or maybe, I don't know, we can figure out some way to honor him for all of the help that he's given us, because he's been very helpful. I mean, without him, we would not be as far as we are. So I met with Nicholas myself and talked over what we've been talking about, which is how do we become, I had to frame it a little differently because Rick was going to be the lead person talking to Nicholas, and it wound up being me. So, hi, Sonia, hi. So I reframed it in the way of saying, how can we as a committee be helpful to the municipality? How is it, what's the function? What's the functioning actions that we can take to be helpful? So we talked about the kind of restrictions that not restrictions, he has a very compartmentalized, which he should, idea about what the municipality is responsible for. And in his kind of way of thinking of things, the municipality is not responsible for any kind of social services. That's the purview of the nonprofits that we know about, like Capstone, that work with the community. So we thought about two things. So one thing is to have the different agencies that are doing RFPs for grants to include sending that RFP to us on the committee, actually sending it to one of the working groups. That would be the working group that works with ordinances and policies, so that they can look it over and use the assessment tool as the process. And then to capture, or to rather have the agencies that serve the municipality be the ones who would use the assessment tool for whatever project they were doing in the city, whatever RFP they were sending out. And the quid pro quo is if they got a letter from our committee for any grants that they write, it would be positive toward their grant application. So that's kind of what we came to as far as that goes. And so to that point, I have Chris and William who want to serve, and Sonia, not as a committee member, but as our liaison, who want to be on the what I call the reform committee, the ordinance reform committee, to look over the ordinances and then to be that conduit for us to have an impact, let's say, on the RFPs from the city, from the municipality. On the other hand, Emily has agreed to go with me to the Barre Partnership to begin with, to talk with them about how they can best support the different projects that are going on in the city that are related to equity and our committee work. And we haven't finalized it yet, but I think the method, the presentation that we're going to give is going to use next year's Pride Parade as the kind of framework to have the discussion, to use that as an example of how the Barre Partnership could potentially support that community activity, and then talk about how they can use the assessment tool whenever they're planning things. So doing outreach to the various nonprofits that are working with the city, I think is a component of what we're doing. I don't think it belongs to either of the work groups, but it's something that obviously needs to be done so that they can be drawn into kind of this work. The the great thing about that is when Emily and I went to the summit that was held by the Barre Partnership, well, it was held by the Central Vermont, I don't know, it was the, not Community Action, Central Vermont, anyway,
Economic.
economic folks. Anyway, so what I discovered, because we did a workshop with 14 people about equity, and every single one of the people in the workshop worked for a nonprofit that served the city, each from different ones. And every single one was extremely educated in equity and diversity, et cetera, because they've been having all of those trainings within their own agencies, like for the last few years. So in a way, they're kind of primed to be doing this kind of thing with us whenever there's a project that relates to our community. There just needs to be some kind of mechanism that we can work out with them, like working it out with the municipality, of how do we collaborate with each other on whatever it is they're doing. I assume that they use, well, they must, when they write their grants, use different benchmarks to talk about the need in the city. But even beyond that, to actually survey the people, I don't know if they survey people that they're serving. I don't know. So we'll find that out. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as a kind of a side project. And I think what I would do is call on any of us who would want to do that in partnership with me, so that there's never one person going and there's always, not that I feel unsafe. It's more about, I don't know, kind of diversifying ourselves in a way. So that's that work group, the two working groups. So I don't have anyone else listed for working in a working group. I am going to take on the Let's Talk program. We have one more left. I'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, so between now and our next meeting, if you could, well, both William and, I don't remember, Greg, you wanted to be on the education one, is that correct? Okay, so so far we have 3 people who have declared what working group they want to be in. And I will continue with the Let's Talk workshop to run the final one. So I think for me, I can, in order to keep quorum in order to have quorum not be a problem, I, as the chairperson and also the vice chairperson, can attend these meetings but can't really participate, something like that, where we're not voting on anything, we're just there to assist or to even run the meeting if that's needed. Okay, so the last session for Let's Talk, I've just scheduled it with Christy. It's October, hold on, let me get my calendar out. It's Saturday, October 19th. Excuse me, Saturday, October 19th and Saturday, November 2nd. So those are the last 2. Those are going to be half days from 9 to, I think, 1 o'clock, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, yeah, from 9 to 1. And it will also be the training ground for people who want to continue as a facilitator for this program. So I'm putting out an invitation to folks who we've already invited who haven't attended yet, as well as an invitation to potentially become one of the facilitators if people so wish. What we're going to do to help that is there will be about $1,200 left in the grant once this last session is done, and that $1,200 will go toward either toward future, it'll go toward the training, not just for the training materials, which she will copy for us, but also for her continued consultation on running the program. So in other words, she'll be there as a support person to answer questions, or if even we needed another session just with the people who are going to facilitate in the future. We could arrange for that. So there's enough money for that. This, of course, means that we pulled the money back from mediation with the city council. There was absolutely no interest in that from the council, it seems, and I left it up to Sam, so to speak, to raise it, and she and I both agreed that this wasn't going to be able to happen. Certainly not within the time frame of the grant, which actually ends in October. So that's why we pulled the money back, and we'll use it to help us with the Let's Talk program and with training facilitators. Any questions? Comments? Yeah.
Joellen, on the I forgot, on the June meeting, Sonia Spalding was also present at that meeting.
Oh, thank you.
I believe that to be the case.
All righty. Okay, so what does that give us? I have to turn my light on here.
Sonia can correct me if I'm wrong.
She'll have to look on her calendar.
Yeah, I have to look at my calendar, but I'm on my phone, so I can't do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I'm pretty sure I saw you.
yeah, I think I was. I don't know if I've missed. I maybe missed one or two, but
okay. The other thing that, by the way, I'm going to go back a little bit. The other thing I talked with Nicholas about, and it's not written in our report, but when I give the report on the 24th, it's going to coincide with something that the council has been working on or is thinking about working on. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sonia, but it's related to how we put people on committees and why we put people on committees. And so my thing is, if the municipality wants us to be a working committee that is useful to them, we need skilled people. We can't just say any volunteer can join our committee. They have to be committed to they have to pledge a commitment to the work. They have to have enough time to be able to do it. And also they need training. Either they need to already be aware and knowledgeable about things like research, because we want people to go through the different ordinances and policies. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want someone who doesn't like to read to be on the committee. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that we need job descriptions, although that would be nice. Not job descriptions, resumes from people, but in a way we do. We need to know what value they're going to bring if we want our committee to be useful. So that's something that I talked with Nicholas about. He agreed with me. He said that the first thing that they were thinking of doing on the council is figuring out a different or better way to not just attract people for committees, but also to be more specific about what committees would do. And that would be helpful, I think, in recruitment too, because then people would know what they're up for, what they're in for, so to speak.
yeah, Joellen, if I can just chime in, I have been asking to discuss committees and have asked if we could create a charge for each committee, because I think each committee needs to know what the expectation is from the city council. Like what is the work that we want you to do, and be very clear about that. And then also be clear about, this is how much time we're going to give you to do that work, whatever it is. And then we'd like you to report back and tell us how the results of the work that you did for every committee, because I think that it's important to have every committee be not just, it feels like some committees are not really as effective as they could be. And so I think that's a conversation that we had and we all agreed. It hasn't happened yet, and I keep asking. So
good. And we'll be there to support that. I would ask, however, that in doing this, that we collaborate with each other on what the aspects are. I don't know about other committees, because there are some, I suspect, that have real specific things like the paving committee, although I don't think there is one. But if there was a paving committee, that would be their thing. With a committee like ours, I think it would be wise for us to work together to come up with whatever defines our committee, because it's a not everyone on the council is as aware of each other is about what the issues are, and there's been so much history under the bridge that has nothing to do with equity work, has more to do with politics and with people's attitudes about things. So so I would hope that at least in our case that we have an opportunity to collaborate in some way to create whatever that is. I mean, the charge originally was two things. Going over policies and ordinances for equity with an equity lens, and creating a flag ordinance. Sorry, I have to chuckle every time I think about that. About the hours and hours we spent, not just as our committee, but as the community, coming up with a fabulous product that is now, well, I don't know how defunct it is, because I'm going to try using it this year when it comes to pride flags. Okay, so that's it for what I have on the agenda. Does anyone have anything else to say? By the next time we meet then, we should have some feedback from council about our report and about how we're moving forward. I'm not necessarily in a position to ask for permission for what we've planned to do, but more affirmation. I'm looking for affirmation. And of course, if maybe this will help in terms of the council looking at other committees, not just ours, because I think in this way we're very specific with the priorities list and with the plan for the future about what we think we can do. Let's put it that way. And then we'll see what the council says. Does that make sense to folks? Yeah, Ellen.
Now, I have a new business item if this is the time, but if we're still talking about that. I can
No, unless someone else has something to say about that. Okay, Ellen, go.
wait. I'm looking for which committee, which group of people can help an initiative that I think is really imperative for our city and has everything to do with equity and justice, especially environmental justice. I would like Barre City to either join the lawsuits that are underway against big oil for the climate disasters that we are stuck dealing with and paying for, and we're a poor city. We do not have the funds. Critical services are not funded. Our people are without recourse here. And so there have been dozens of municipalities, states, other entities, other municipal or state entities that have joined these suits. The state of Vermont has passed legislation that says that we can indeed sue big oil, just like we did with tobacco and other things. And so it's either, I would either like to see our city council say that, yes, we will join, we will sign on to that class action lawsuit, or we will go to the state and ask the state, and maybe band together with other municipalities to ask the state, because Vermont is one of the worst disaster areas now. And it's not getting any better, and it's not gonna get any better. And I know Greg can attest to this firsthand. And it is poor people, it is people of color, it is people who are disenfranchised who bear the brunt of all of it worse than anybody else. So it seems to me like an equity committee issue. And I just will drop it here for any discussion or to put on a future agenda.
I would recommend that we put it on our next month's agenda, or we can even hold if it's is this time sensitive? Are there deadlines? Okay. So
I don't know anything about the details yet. It would be us looking into that and coming up with a proposal.
Correct.
To bring as the committee.
Correct.
We'd probably get other groups to join us, like the River Access Committee, the River Committee, which is not a city committee, but would probably be willing to think about that as well. Maybe the cow pasture, there's a bunch of groups that might join us.
So Ellen, would you please, can you put together a couple of paragraphs for me, and then I'll send it to the other committee chairs that are appropriate, and then
All right.
we'll get back
I'll
to
look into what the legislation is, what the lawsuits are,
Right.
whether they're class action things that people can join in on, or whether it's like we have to mount, if we had to mount our own case, forget it. But if we can join, Sonia has something to add here, it looks like.
Well, I wonder, I was reading on Jonathan Williams that he has joined, I can't remember the caucus for different communities who've been impacted by, climate, severe weather. And I wonder if we should encourage him to come, because I wonder if we as communities who've been impacted could join together to lobby the state or do it together, because we're the ones that are, the ones that are the most impacted. So it would make sense to work together. So I can reach out to Jonathan about that if you'd like.
That'd be great, and also invite him to our next meeting.
Yep.
So that we can have a
Yeah.
round discussion. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
get some information from him. We don't need to recreate the wheel here. If
Absolutely.
something rolling already, I want to know about it. And he might be able to help us. And that might be, if you can ask him specifically, tell him specifically, that's one of the things we're wondering, if he can give us an overview of what's already happening.
Yeah.
And how we might plug into it, and all that stuff, and what the state legislation means for us.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
survive this. We cannot, the city cannot survive this. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else anyone has to offer to our group tonight? Okay. So I don't see any public there, so nothing to be said. And the next meeting date is, let's see, October 10th. Yeah, October 10th. So we'll see each other back here October 10th. Hopefully by then, I have a different method of getting on so that I can so we don't need Chris. I'm not sure if that can be managed, but Nicholas is working on it so that I can be the person that, gets into the meeting and we don't have to rely on anyone. Okay. And in the meanwhile, I certainly will try to track down Rick so that we can give him some sort of accolade. Yes.
Question. Were we supposed to vote on the work plan, or is it all set to go?
It's all set to go. I suppose we could vote on it. Okay, so let's vote on it.
So
All those so I need a motion from Greg. Greg made the motion. Ellen second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay, that sounds like a plan. All right. So if I don't see you on the 24th, I shall see you next month.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, William. We shall. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
We
Good
need a
night.
second.
Okay.
Second.
Ellen second. Okay. Cool. Bye.
bye.
Bye.